Before I graduated my master's degree about 3 years ago, I hated writing, I hated reading, I didn't like any of it. Now I'm writing over 2,000 words a day on average, all about different topics, some of it research, some of it projects of actual stories, articles and things like that. But I'm going to be trying NaNoWriMo, which is 50,000 words on one story. So it's 1,700 words a day in a month, without fail, about one story. This is how I currently work and how I plan on working throughout the month of November to get NaNoWriMo complete. This is my Obsidian dashboard, also known as my life. On the far left, you can see we've got all research, and these are research files. They're research topics that I'm interested in, so learning, cognition, expertise, etc. Inside of these research files, so if I open one of these up quickly, you can see I have a link going out to a project. That's an essay project. You can tell by the icon. When you click on that, you can see different information that's related to that project. This is a source. You can tell by the icon, and these are other research files. That's obviously not, but these are other research files in purple with the research icon next to it. I can see all of that information inside of this little card here. There is 32 research files that reference learning, so this is obviously really important because other research files reference it, which is why it's at the top. There are 14 essays that are currently related to learning. I may have done them, they may just be ideas, and there's no videos right now, directly related to learning anyway, indirectly potentially quite a few because 32 research files connected. Now for NaNoWriMo, I've actually decided to relate a lot of the research to the book. So you can see all the tick marks of the research files that have something that's interesting that I'm going to put in some way into the book/books, I think it's going to be a book, I don't know, in this next month of writing. But some of these topics are going to be more active. So if we have a look at the educators, if I click on there, you can see this is an active research file, which is why it's showing over here. This will probably change as time goes on because I don't think Ali's going to have anything to do with the book. This is something that's dynamically changing as I change projects. So when I come over here, you can see I have essentially 3 lanes of writing that I focus on. This one is where I started. This is the Danny Hatcher YouTube channel. What you're watching right now, this is the video I'm working on, and this is where I started my writing after my master's. I thought, you know what, I want to write about that app, or I want to learn about this tech thing, and that's where I started creating files and just writing up my ideas, taking notes and putting them in different places, and it turned into a YouTube channel, which is obviously what you're watching, and that's where this lane is. This lane is basically all tech. But tech isn't everything, and at the moment this is the Substack article lane. Previously it was just miscellaneous research topics, but you can see here we've got YouTube integrity, writing like Brandon Sanderson, lots of different topics that relate to various small news points, concept topics and ideas. I want to explore a little bit, so the physics trolls that got their PhDs that shouldn't have got their PhDs, and UK educational changes that's happening recently. So there's lots of variation in these sorts of articles, but it keeps me interested, it keeps me going, it keeps me writing, it keeps me practicing the act of writing. But of course, because these are just quick topics, these are only sort of like 2,000 word articles, and that's where we move over to the educational science lane, which is video essays. Now, the length may be the same. It might be 1,000, 2,000 words, but I could have condensed, I likely have condensed lots of these articles down, so I've removed redundant information, or I've refined the way that I'm going to explain a topic inside these video essays. So this is more of a, like I say, a refined version of these articles, which again is a different skill inside of writing, and this goes up on the second YouTube channel, which gives me 3 lanes of research: tech, interesting news topics, and then deeper science articles. And sometimes I can be really sideways, which is where Project Inbox comes into play. And what this does is this looks at all of the projects, these new project ideas, articles and videos, and says, okay, is it related to an area of research, which is one of these areas over here? And if it's not, then it's going to show inside of the inbox and say, hey, this is an idea, this is a topic, this is a concept, this is a project you're doing that you shouldn't be doing, or you need to make it related to something that you should be doing, which is a nice way to keep me in check. So if I come in and click on my entire workflow and scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can see this is related to workflow and software research. And when I click on there, this is where all of those projects are linked to. All of my completed projects being over here on the right side. So whenever I've completed a project, so if I click on here, if it's done, then obviously I've finished writing it and it's normally been published now anyway, it comes over to this side. But the project inbox is very similar to the source inbox, all the way over on the left side side, which is here, these are sources that are not linked to projects. So if I zoom out quickly, these are sources not linked to projects. These are projects not linked to research. And then the research is the top level that should be related to goals, targets, whatever it is that I want to do. But this is with the online publishing stuff. Before I did all the publishing thing with the Substack and the videos, these were just articles. These were just written articles to myself, an audience of one. It was just a file to help me understand the notes, which is why they were very, very condensed. Similar to these up here, really, just bullet point files of things I want to note down. These are other creators that I follow or watch, or some notes I've taken, and again, same sorts of thing. If I have a quick note, I can come up to any point of the canvas and double click and just start typing. I don't have to think, what file, what database, where do I, no, just double click and write the thing. But Obsidian is a writing tool. Yes, I have some planning in here, Discord, priority, etc., but all of these are actually sorted by a tick box inside of Obsidian to say, is it in Morgen, and does it have a date? Because having a calendar inside of here is not great. Side point here, when I was writing my book about Notion, a publisher reached out to me and asked if I could write a how-to guide on Notion, which I did. It's been published, it's done. AI could probably do a better job now. But when I was planning that, I was planning it out in Notion. So that's where I had all of the chapters laid out. But I was writing it in Microsoft Word, and then I was actually using the calendar to schedule the time, because the calendar had my events. So I'm half blind, and I was going through medication at the time to sort that out over on the side. But I had to go to hospital. And the hospital appointment was on my Google Calendar. So I had duplicate events in Notion and my calendar, and I ended up faffing around with sub-chapters and chapters and scenes and stuff inside of Notion, and I was fiddling around with the database more than actually writing the thing. And when it came to planning, I was using my calendar far more than Notion. So what I've actually done with this system is gone, actually, let's scrap Notion, don't need that. I'm going to have a writing app, Obsidian, instead of Word, which I'll go to later on, and then I'm going to have a planning app, which is Morgen. And as you can see, Morgen does look a little bit of a mess if you're not familiar with this sort of time blocking, but each of these red things are blocked in time. So I know I'm going to do the audio edit of that video. I'm going to edit that video here. And you can see I've planned out NaNoWriMo time inside of these sections, which are normally writing for, this is yellow, so this is inside the educational science, and this is purple, which is inside of the Substack. So I know this is a blocked time, red, and it's yellow, so it's educational science, blocked time, red, purple is Substack, and this is blocked time, red, but it's blue, which is the Danny Hatcher channel down here. But then when I look up to the top of the day, I can see the project. So I'm meant to be editing that video, scripting that video, editing this video, writing this project, and that's just an all-day block task that I need to make sure I do, because these are recurring sorts of things, as you can see here. So I can look at the all-day for an overview of the projects I'm currently working on, so active projects, the day for the granular tasks, and when I go to the sidebar, I then get automatic upcoming lists and today lists and overdue lists because of the due date I've added to these tasks. So Video Journal, if I click on it, has a due date. It's in the Substack task list, so I know this is a Substack project that's due on Thursday, etc., etc. And this is automatic. Notion, you have to do some formulas and fiddling. No, this is just automatic tasks. And as I scroll down, you can see I've got subtasks. So I had actually scheduled, hey, I want to write this, but I decided not to. So if I drag this on, this is how I would do it. I'm going to drag this into an all-day task, actually make sure it's in the right calendar. So it's now in the newsletter calendar. So it's purple on there, it's purple inside of there. So now we've got this here. I can then drag this to however long it is. And I know, okay, that is when I'm writing this article, this Substack article, and it's related to wherever it's gone inside of here. So I have a due date for the project, and then this is when I'm meant to be writing it. But if I change my mind, I can unschedule it. It disappears from the calendar and goes back into this little list and says, hey, this is when you're going to be writing it. Oh wait, you're not. So I can actually remove this due date because I'm not writing it anymore. So save. And now it's just a project ready for me to schedule. And for the book, I can do exactly the same thing, but instead of saying write, I can say chapter 1. And then I will plan out chapter 1. Obviously, I don't want to be in the week view. And because Morgen has calendar sets, I can push 5 on my keyboard. Then I'm going to push M on my keyboard. So now I'm in a month view with the calendar set 5, which is just NaNoWriMo. So I can see, okay, this is the current plan. As you can see, it's just write. That's pretty much as far as I've got. I don't know when I'm doing chapter 1, 2. I don't even know how many chapters there are. If it's 1 book, if it's 5 books, I have no idea. As you can see, we're very close. But yeah, this is how I plan on doing it, and because Morgen links with Obsidian, I can click here, I can then click on the link, and then it's going to open up the file inside of Obsidian, which takes me to my fantasy canvas. You can see projects, books, fantasy, information, fantasy. So this is my canvas, very similar to the home canvas. If we have a look, that's the home canvas I was just on, but this is taking me to the book canvas, and inside of here it's giving me, as you can see, the characters, the places, and the magic, and this is automatic. So at the moment I've got myself as a character because I've recorded this video like 3 times because audio and rubbish gets in the way. If I wanted to quickly add a new character, I can push Control N, quickly type in CH for character, then say new name, and that's going to add a new character file, and it's going to appear in this query automatically. And that means I can add it anywhere when I'm writing, when I'm not writing, and it will give this template. Now I'll probably change this template when I start writing, but I don't know what I need. And then I have added some default fields, so species and role. I'll probably change that to date of birth and other things characters may need, but I don't know what I'm going to need yet because I haven't started writing. So I have the flexibility to add what I want onto characters and places and the magic. As you can see, I haven't done any planning, but I have written down some quick notes, so I've double clicked and then just started writing of things that have come to mind or as I've watched other people's planning for NaNoWriMo. And the main benefit I see of this is if I now come into the sidebar, I'm using the long form plugin inside of Obsidian. For those unfamiliar, you can go to settings, you can then go community plugins, browse, type in long form, and it gives you long form writing options. It's fully flexible. I've got more videos about this on the channel. So when I go into scenes, and let's say I'm writing an introduction, I can now link to any parts of those files. So I can say new name. Now I've referenced the new name character inside of the introduction, which could be a placeholder because I haven't come up with their names yet, and I can do that as many times as I want. And now if I control click, I can open that up as a tab, and if I move it to the side, it can be on the side as a pane. Maybe I want to right click and move it to a new window, which is something I personally do because I have more than one screen. I've got 4, so I'll have some character stuff up, a canvas stuff, some research and things all over the place. So I can see multiple things at the same time. Another benefit is when I have actually decided what this character's name is going to be. So let's call this Danny Hatcher because that's me. It changes it everywhere that I've written the name, which is very beneficial. What I will likely do is add in character arcs for each of these characters as I go through, so when I hover over their name, I can see the character arc and where they're meant to be at that point in the story or that scene in the story. Again, I'll figure it out as I go along. With another benefit of if I add a property, let's say alias, and select the correct one, the one with the arrow on, you can see I can now type Danny, so just the first name, which means now I can bracket Danny, instead of having the full name, Danny Hatcher, I have Danny as an alias. You can see by the icon, which means it's showing just the first name. Very useful. And as I mentioned, some of the research is going to be related to this book. So if I go to the outline, this is where I've got all the queries. You can see I've got some inspiration. So these are different books that I've read and different movies that I've consumed that are inspirational to me in some way. Some of these are academically related, so non-fiction. Other of them are fiction related. And I'm just going to use some of those thoughts and ideas, as you can see, when I'm coming up with plans and things. Outline. So I have all of the information. I say all of the information. I have some ideas and thoughts that's going on, as you can see inside of this outline file, but nothing to cement it, which is where I'm going to do a lot of the brainstorming, likely using this outline file with the canvas to give me some better overviews of connecting different ideas, just like a mind map would do. But if you have any thoughts, ideas, questions, concerns, do let me know in the comment section below, because this next month is going to be interesting, to say the least.